I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Silly Jedi! Silly Jedi!
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Hello, what have we here?
Hello there.
At last! Where have you been?
Nice of you guys to drop by.
Ah, good. New acquisitions.
I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this.
I had my green screen ready with a backdrop of Jabba's palace.
You were ready. You were ready.
But, I couldn't figure out if I could do that on Instagram Live. But
oh man, now I feel bad. You were so prepared. I'm actually gonna grab my headphones.
So what are we talking about tonight?
You know, I was just listening to Blast Points, and they did a very interesting. I didn't listen to the second one, but they did an episode of. Oh, that's awesome. They did an episode about the Rise of Skywalker. They're doing like saga year. So if you're not listening to Blast Points, I recommend it because it's awesome.
I'll check it out.
All right, let me see. I just put my headphones on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, cool. So they did 2 episodes. They did the light side and the dark side, because one episode is about them pointing out all the things they liked about the movie, and the other episode, which is the one I heard first, they're basically talking about how everything that they didn't like, and they're very polite about it. I'm not that polite about it, but it just brought up these feelings about just overall what the sequel trilogy did and what this new era of like Star Wars TV is doing.
Yeah.
And especially with what we saw last week with the season finale of Mandalorian, it's just like, I feel like they're not trying to undo, but I feel like they're trying to like do right in the fans' eyes and do right to the characters by kind of going back and saying, well, let's fill in these gaps that maybe we can make a clear way to the sequel trilogy. Similarly to how I think Clone Wars as an animated show did for the prequels. Like Clone Wars added to the prequels. Like you can watch the prequels now and have a better understanding of that world, because George Lucas got to play more in the Clone Wars and really make it better, I guess.
Hey, Leslie. My fans are coming on.
Oh, man. Welcome.
I see Michael there. This
What's
is
up,
great.
Coach Evan? Some of the Jedi Toy Master fam there.
Listen, I only have a few minutes, so we got to get straight to it. Initial reactions to season 2 Mandalorian. And we know we're not talking about the whole season here. We're just talking about this last episode.
Well, the whole season was like remember how on Smallville they used to have like something happen in the first episode of the season, and they didn't really go back to that until the season finale.
Right.
The whole season was like a quest to get to that like, I don't want to say MacGuffin, but to get to that thing. That's what this season was. It was basically like, how do we get Mandalorian over here? And all, but the cool thing is that I feel like every episode, with the exception of a few episodes that were kind of filler, but you had the Bo-Katan episode with Mandalorians like on screen doing cool Mandalorian stuff and Empire. And then you had the Ahsoka episode. And then you have the episode where you get to go on this covert mission with Boba Fett. And then there's a Boba Fett episode. And then you get to the finale, which is like you get to the Grand Master, you get to the boss level, and you get to the payoff.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that last half of the season, like the season started like about here, and then those last maybe 3 or 4 episodes took it up, and it just stayed.
Yeah,
stayed at that like at amazing storytelling level.
Yeah, because when you saw that tease in the first episode, and you see Boba Fett at the end, you're like, "What?" Like, I don't know how many people actually like got that was Boba Fett, because again, the actor, he's aged, and he could have been anybody at that point. He could have been a clone or some random. But the fact that they made it a point that that's Boba Fett, and that they just planted that seed in the first episode, and then for it to pay off so many episodes later, there were so many like setups and payoffs this whole season, and the one thing that nobody saw coming, I think, was Luke Skywalker.
My cousin Mario's there saving. What's up, Mario? Listen, was it a satisfying ending for you?
I think so. That was one of my predictions. My prediction for this season was that it was going to end on a cliffhanger. Like what happened in the episode previous, where 2 episodes ago, where Grogu gets taken. My prediction was that the season was going to end on a cliffhanger. It was going to be like an Empire Strikes Back cliffhanger, where Grogu gets taken, and then I kind of said it was either because of Boba Fett or Boba Fett was going to help, and there was going to be some kind of team up. And I actually thought it would be really cool if we got to see Luke Skywalker at the end, because who can help you but Luke Skywalker? So it was going to either be Luke Skywalker or Ahsoka. And then once we got Ahsoka in the episode The Jedi, and then that was it, I was like, all right, well then it's not Ahsoka. So who can be the person that can help them?
I thought maybe she could have a change of heart and come at the end and save him.
Right.
Like, kind of bring it full circle. No, I can't train him, but maybe, she goes back and decides, what, like.
Technically she's not a Jedi, so that's the other thing that was.
Right. But at least, I don't know.
What's up, Josh?
But when he goes to that, what's it called? A Seeing Stone?
Yeah.
And I knew that was going to pay off. Like, there was no way that wasn't going to pay off.
Right.
The question was, who's going to appear? Like, what Jedi is going to appear? And just like you, I was thinking, it has to be Luke. Who else? Like they couldn't. I don't think it would have the payoff if they brought back somebody from Clone Wars or Rebels. Like, people talked about, like Ezra maybe,
right?
Or I mean, there's some other names, but like, listen, I'm a big Star Wars fan, but I have not seen all of Clone Wars or Rebels, and there's a lot of like hardcore fans out there. You might disagree of how hardcore they are. They haven't seen the whole thing, right? Everything, but
right.
But I think that the writers, Jon Favreau and Filoni, knew there's a huge following with the animated series, right? But there's going to be a huge gap of knowledge. Like, if some random Jedi comes up,
right,
it's just not going to have the impact. So I was thinking it has to be Luke, but at the same time, there was a part of me who was like, can they do it? Can they pull it off?
Yeah.
Like,
ultimately, The Mandalorian, I think, was a proof of concept. I think Jon Favreau wanted to do a Boba Fett show or a Boba Fett movie, and this was like a proof of concept. Can we pull off a Boba Fett, a show, a Star Wars live action show? And I think because of the team up with Dave Filoni, this show is. I saw a great drawing, which is basically like The Mandalorian is like a Trojan horse. It's a Trojan horse to be able to sneak in all of this expanded universe, Clone Wars, Rebels, all the non-movie Star Wars stuff, bring it into fans. Like you said, a lot of hardcore fans probably didn't watch the animated shows or read the comics or read some of the novels and get more information about other characters. This show was like the Trojan horse to get, oh, now we know who Bo-Katan is. Now we know who Ahsoka is. Now we know about Mandalore and the Mandalorian Civil
And
War.
people like me are going to go back. I'm like, okay, I have to go back and watch it. Hey,
Right.
Bethany, congratulations on graduating.
And Boba Fett. There's people that, oh, who's Boba Fett? Didn't he die in the movies? Like, who was his father? Oh, Jango Fett was his father? Why would Jango Fett? Are they Mandalorian? They're not Mandalorians? What does that mean? And everything got really explained in this season with all these characters. And it was a setup, I think, to really prove that it can be done. And now the proof is in the pudding. We have all these shows in development. You're going to have a Boba Fett show. You're going to have another season of Mandalorian. You're going to have an Ahsoka show. You're going to have what is it? New Republic Commandos or something like that. Another show, and all these shows are going to kind of like Marvel movies style. They're all going to link up because they're all taking place in the same timeline. And I think it's just a way for them to tell a grander story on the TV side of Star Wars without having to, do 3 movies and but the payoff of Luke, I think that's the big takeaway here. The payoff of Luke on the story side, I think it was beautiful. The fact that now we know that Mark Hamill was involved in that, I think is like even more amazing. And I think I told you this in a text, but my theory with that on the technical side is like you can't really get away with too much with de-aging Mark Hamill or doing a stunt person or a lookalike or doing like the CG face because it didn't really look great. And I think I sent you that deep fake that somebody did where it actually looks a little better. They improved it. But I wouldn't be surprised if this episode, if we go back in a couple months and try to rewatch that episode, I wouldn't be surprised if they tinker with it and keep making it look better and better and better. Kind of like how George Lucas
They're
keeps
going to
going
be
back.
special editions.
Yeah, this episode is going to keep getting better because I think they're just going to keep improving on it. I think they rushed it because it was so secretive.
Right. My cousin Mario said something about they should never make the novels legend.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that.
I'm thinking that they're going to bring Luke back at some point, and they would be wise to completely recast him, just like they did with Han Solo.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think Sebastian Stan is the man. I mean, the guy looks like him, and just like you had Eric, what is it, Aldrich, the guy that played Han in the Solo movie. I forgot his name. We had to buy the fact that that's Han Solo before we got Harrison Ford. So I think it makes sense.
It didn't quite work for me, but you gotta swing for the fences, and you might get a home run and you may not, but you just,
right.
The CGI, it's just not there yet. It still doesn't look human. It throws us off. It was, when I saw the last episode, I didn't really care. Because it was such an integral part of the story, right? And they really, really limited it. He had a hood on most of the time. We saw they did this whole kind of thing, trope almost, where they were watching him on screen, so it doesn't have to look clear.
Right.
That was great. But any more dialogue that he had, we would have completely been thrown off and not, but
I think if you recast it, you can get away with it because this is 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So there's that time period now where it's 5 years after Return of the Jedi and before Luke looks the way he looked when Kylo Ren turned on him. So there's that whole time period where, people look different. People age different, and even though we know how Mark Hamill aged in real life, this is Luke Skywalker. This is the character Luke Skywalker. He could look different during those years.
So did you know it was Luke as soon as the X-Wing came? Or give me
Okay.
the play-by-play.
First of all,
tell me.
Watching Mandalorian is a Friday night tradition in my house. We have pizza, we do a movie night, but during Mandalorian season, it's Mandalorian before the movie. And when that whole episode, even before we saw the X-Wing, I was already sweating. This episode made me sweat. It made me perspire, and my heart was racing. And when I saw the X-wing, my brain didn't process it fast enough. And at first I was just like, an X-wing. I thought maybe I missed it. Maybe there was multiple X-wings. It wasn't until Cara Dune's character says, "Oh, one X-wing, great, we're saved," that I was like, wait a second. It wasn't until she said that line that I was like, it can't be. I thought maybe it was Ahsoka, because I was like, no, they can't seriously. This is like, it can't be true. Like, they can't possibly. And then
you're in disbelief. You're like,
I was in disbelief. And then in that same moment of disbelief, I also thought, oh my gosh, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, like, they've given us everything that we wanted with this show. And every time we didn't think we would ever see Ahsoka in live action, and we saw like all those thoughts raced through my brain. And when I saw that there was somebody with a lightsaber fighting, I was like, I almost didn't want to say it out loud because I was afraid I was going to jinx it. But I was like, that's in my head. I was like, that's Luke Skywalker. Of course, I'm sweating. My wife is jumping up and down on the couch, and she's just like, oh my gosh.
What are your boys feeling or thinking or doing? Or
the Logan and Blake were like, just like, oh my gosh, what? Who is that? Oh my gosh, what? Dylan, the 3-year-old, was just like, he was just stupefied, just at the screen, just like he didn't know what he was watching. And when once you saw the green saber, that was it. I lost it. And Blake blurted it out. He was just like, the green lightsaber is Luke Skywalker.
Wow, he's sharp. He's sharp.
That was it.
Bean Arts and G-Tars?
Oh,
G-Tars. Oh, okay. He's talking about how he was on the edge of his seat.
Yeah.
So your tradition is the Friday evenings. My tradition is Friday mornings because I usually get my toddler out of bed. So before she even gets out of bed, this is my time, and I make sure I see it first thing because I know it's gonna get spoiled. Like, I just know when I'm online, it's just gonna get spoiled. So I'm there. I got up early, made my breakfast, sitting down there, and watching this. Right. First of all, the episode just it begins amazing with Dr. Pershing and the two
Imperial shuttle. Like, we get to see the interior.
Hold up. I forgot this because Luke like overshadows everything. But that opening scene that you see Slave One or going after the Imperial shuttle, I'm like, what am I watching here? What is going on? Like, I'm taking back to the 80s because I haven't seen that Imperial shuttle since, you know what I mean? Since the original. And I'm like, what in the world is going on here? I'm like already like edge of my seat. Like I'm in for the ride. So it begins. It was incredible beginning, right? And then like getting fast forward to when they're on the bridge, they're trapped. What's going to happen? And we see the X-wing come in. First of all, visually, it was stunning. Like it's like from the perspective of those on the bridge, and it's like coming in.
And when you rewatch it, and you really look at the X-wing, you're like, that is Luke's X-wing. Like, it is totally Luke's X-wing.
As soon as I saw it, I was trying to like, because I only seen it once, but as soon as I saw it, I was like looking carefully, like, is that Luke's? Right? Because again, I'm the type of person I don't want to be let down. So, but I couldn't help. And so I see it, and I'm wondering, are other X-Wings coming? And then Cara Dune immediately says her line, like you mentioned, oh, great, one X-Wing, we're saved, right? And as soon as she said that, I was like, oh my gosh. Right then and there, my heartbeat started beating faster and faster. Like I was like having a panic attack. I was like, what is going on, right? So it lands, and then I forget the order of what we see. If it's first we see a cloak, right? And I'm like, this looks like Return of the Jedi cloak, but this also could be some other Jedi, and you're right. And then I don't remember if I saw the lightsaber or the one glove first, but as soon as I saw that, I was like, this is not happening. I started, before Luke even started fighting, I started welling up. Like, this is like my childhood dream right now. This is the Luke Skywalker that I imagined.
This is what we thought after Return of the Jedi. Like, these are the adventures that we thought he was going to be on.
Right. This is what you and I as kids would play with our toys. These were the adventures. Luke the hero, Luke the Jedi Knight, or the Jedi Master.
Yep.
And so, like, all of that kept, like, involuntarily flood, like a flood came in, and I couldn't help myself. I was just like so emotional, and then he started fighting, and I'm like freaking blown away, and I just, like, my heartbeat wouldn't stop, like, beating fast. I was like I had not experienced that. Rogue One may have been the closest to that. Rogue One, and before that, maybe Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
When Mustafar, maybe that's when I got exciting. But I don't remember ever being so, like, emotionally moved, because this is not. See, this only really works if you have a history with Star Wars. Like, if you just started watching Mandalorian, it's not gonna feel that. You're not gonna get it.
Right.
But this is, 30 plus years of history with this character, and this dream that you weren't quite expecting all of a sudden comes, and so you see, he appears and he's fighting, and then he takes the hood off, and the CGI, like, it threw me off a little bit, but I still kept tried my best to stay in the story.
Yeah.
But then what did it was when R2 came out. When R2 came out, I was like, oh my God, I was like this. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this.
I was sweating. My armpits sweated. I was sweating through my shirt. I couldn't sit still. I kept moving. It was just like, oh my gosh. The only other time I ever felt like that watching Star Wars was, in a bad way, was Force Awakens, when, like, Han is on the bridge with Kylo Ren, and like, oh my gosh, something's gonna happen, and then, like, but that was like a horrible version of this. This was the opposite. This was like excitement to the point of perspiration.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you saw, and then the fact that you see R2 talk to Grogu, almost like he knows who he is.
Right.
Like, hey, weren't you that little kid?
There's theories out there that R2 actually saved them from the temple.
Weren't you that kid at the temple that looked like Yoda? But yeah, what a great way! I really wish I could have used, like, at least 2 more episodes in the season. Like, 8 episodes is like, it's like so short, but so good.
Here's one point I wanted to add to, which I think it was really good writing and acting, because even though Luke did, like, kind of overshadow things, it still was a Mandalorian. It still it respected that story. You know what I mean?
It was it was dancing on that line, though, because there were episodes where it almost became like the Mandalorian almost became like a side character because of the grandeur of all the other characters. Like, when you get Boba Fett in there, and you have, I mean, even the episode with Ahsoka, like, it's just like we were waiting for that Ahsoka battle at the end more so than the Mando, gunslinger moment with that other guy, with the guy from Aliens, with Reese from Terminator.
What's his name? Colonel Hicks, right?
Colonel Hicks,
they did do hand dirty in Han in The Force Awakens, but Harrison Ford wanted his character to die. So, anyways, but I see your point in saying that. However, I feel like Din Djarin is like, he is a smaller character, and he's being introduced into such a greater world and galaxy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, he did have a story arc. he grew as a character. I mean, like he took off his helmet, like twice this season. And at the end, I think, like I kind of thought he was just gonna like lift it up so that Grogu can see him, and then like put it right back on. But he like legit just took it off, put it on the floor, and then he's like, "That's it." Like, last season he said, "If you take it off, you can never put it back on again."
Right.
And at this point, they've all seen his face now.
I'd be interested to know. I think what they're going to do is kind of continue the thread of what's going on with the retaking of Mandalore, right?
Yeah,
and like the different factions, the different tribes. What do they call them? The tribes?
The clans.
Clans. Right. See, this is an amateur guy talking because I haven't watched Clone Wars or Rebels. Sorry, guys.
But I think definitely season 3 could lean into that because you have Bo-Katan, you have this whole drama now with the Darksaber that and although I had issues with that because again in Star Wars Rebels there's a character Sabine who's a Mandalorian who has the Darksaber and she gives it to Bo-Katan. Like she surrenders it to her, saying that, you deserve it. You deserve to be the true, leader of Mandalore. So I don't understand why, like, she's all hung up on having to win it in combat to be able to earn it.
I didn't see Clone Wars. Was that Clone Wars or Rebels?
Rebels, yeah.
Okay. I've been listening to different podcasts, but they're talking about how it's that very fact, the reason why that she can't accept it that way again. Because there was the clan, they presume that there was a lack of respect or identification that she is the true leader,
right?
Because of what happened off screen, right? That's what they're thinking. But
that makes sense.
But that'd be interesting, yeah. But I gotta go. So this will be part 1. We'll have different parts.
Usually when I talk Star Wars, I'm by myself driving in the car, as you know. So this was nice. It's nice to be stationary.
We're gonna have to get my cousin Mario on next time because if you think I have a love of Star Wars and a knowledge of it, it doesn't compare. Not at all. Not at all.
Mario,
he'll school you and me. But yeah. So, anyways, it was good to chat with you. And,
all right, man.
We'll do this again.
Luke Skywalker is back, bro.
I'm gonna have some real good dreams tonight.
If Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight action figure was a stock, it tripled in value at this point. It's tripled in value.
Yeah.
So go check eBay. It to be true. All right, man.
Force be with you, man.
Happy Life Day. Merry Christmas.
Happy Life Day. Bye.
Later.
The Force will be with you always.